Hello there, beautiful people. Today I'm going to be showing you how I'm getting 8x back on almost all of my purchases with the Wells Fargo Signify Business Cash Card. I'm going to be showing you how to get every single bit of value with the welcome offer on this card, how the card fits into my long-term strategy, and how to leverage the 0% introductory APR offer to effectively double the sign-up bonus on this card. Seriously, if you don't know how to do that, it's worth a look to see if it fits in your credit card strategy. If you're new here, I'm Nathaniel Booth, tenured professor of the Fat Stacks Academy, where we're just kind of out here vibing and trying to take as much money from the bank as possible. So if you're up for making some fat stacks, hit that like button and let's get stacking. All right, so if you didn't know, the Wells Fargo Signify Business Cash Card is the only cashback card that Wells Fargo has at the moment, and it released sometime earlier last year. I wanted to get this card because of the introductory offer and the fact that it's 2% uncapped on all of my business spend. Prior to that, the best you could do on specifically the business side was the Blue Business Plus or Blue Business Cash, as far as what I could find. And since this one's a MasterCard, it has much wider acceptance. So I knew I kind of wanted this in my long-term setup, especially as I've been trying to separate my main business, my painting business's finances, from my own personal finances to make life for my accountant and bookkeeper, and at the end of the day, my cost with them a lot more manageable. All right, so let's just quickly take a look at the features and benefits of the card, and then we'll get into the strategy on how to make as much money as possible from the welcome offer and the long-term use of this card. So this is kind of the standard offer. I've never seen an elevated one. This card just came out about a year ago. It is to earn $500 cash reward bonus when you spend $5,000 in purchases for your business in the first 3 months. There's a $0 annual fee on this card, which is one reason I really wanted to get it, because it's just one I would love to have in my back pocket. Believe it or not, sometimes life gets busy. I don't have time to research and apply for new cards, and knowing that I can just get a flat 2% respectable earn on my painting business is super helpful. Now, just because this is a business card doesn't mean you have to have a bona fide business like I do. I do have an LLC with my painting company, but for years now, I had just been applying for these cards as a sole proprietor with my social security number. I got this one with my LLC painting business with a different EIN, just so I can really separate my finances, especially now that I'm an S Corp and it takes a lot more kind of stringent accounting to keep that compliant with the IRS per my accountant. So since I do have around $6,000 to $10,000 worth of business spend every quarter, I'm finding it a lot easier to just get new cards specifically for my business, only use those cards for my business. And there's actually some pretty strong tax advantages to doing that I'll talk about in a little bit. But this card is super simple, unlimited 2% cash back, $0 annual fee. And you get this $500 welcome bonus. Now there's this other part of the offer that is right behind my head here that I am going to show you. And that is the 0% introductory APR period for 12 months. I'm going to show you how I'm leveraging this to effectively get twice as much money from the introductory period by combining this with a high yield savings account. All right, so now that we've seen the public offer on the card, let's talk about how to utilize all the facets of the welcome offer along with the long-term 2% cashback to get as much value out of this card. And I'm just going to quickly show you how I'm going to be getting over $1,000 from this card in the first 5 or 6 months here with my painting business. All right, so let's head right over to the sexiest spreadsheet ever made. All right, and the first and immediate bit of value you'll get from this card is if you're able to hit that $5,000 spend requirement in the first 3 months, you'll get a $500 sign-up bonus in addition to the 2% cash back. Pretty straightforward. This is still going to be the biggest chunk because that's how it is with credit cards. You're in it for the welcome offers, at least initially. So that's the easiest $500. The second thing is the cash back that you get from the card. So I was approved with a $12,000 credit limit. I just ran the numbers on how much I think I'm going to end up spending on this card before I kind of do this again with another business card. I'm going to get really close to that $12,000 limit. And I'm going to explain why in a little bit with the 0% APR strategy. But At that 2% back, that's going to get me an extra $233.82. So most of my spending on this card so far is taxes, and I actually think this is going to be one of those cards that I do have in the long run, if for nothing else, just for taxes. I'll show you, at least on the federal side, how it's pretty much always going to make financial sense for me to pay with taxes, especially with my business. It basically always comes out ahead by a comfortable enough margin that I'd rather do it with a credit card than just transferring out of my bank account. But before I get into some sexy tax talk, I want to just talk about the last part of the offer, which is this 0% introductory APR offer, and how I'm going to use it to get close to doubling the welcome offer effectively. And we will head over to the chalkboard for that. All right, so normally, if you don't know, when you get a new credit card, you make a lot of your purchases on it. The biggest problem, though, this is a poor rendition of a credit card here, is it's usually 20% plus APR if you don't pay your statement balance in full every single month. So in this case, I got this Wells Fargo Signify card. I'm going to be putting over $11,000 on it within the first few months here, as I just showed. Paying 20% APR is going to diminish all the rewards on this card if I was actually paying that current interest rate. So the way to avoid this normally with a credit card is you have your bank account and you take $11,000 from it on your purchases. In this case, it would be like, $2,000 here or there every single statement period. Pay off that balance, and then you're not paying this 20% APR and you get all your rewards. We'll add the bank here. However, because this has an introductory 0% APR offer for 12 months, what you can do instead is just make the minimum payment on this account, which is usually about $40 or 1% of the balance every single month. And effectively what that will do is leave this $11,000 in your bank account. Now, if you just have your checking account with Chase or Wells Fargo, like this Wells Fargo even, your APR is only going to be right around 0.01%. But for me, since I leave most of my money in my Wealthfront cash account, my bank account is actually sitting at 4.5% So for 12 months until this introductory 0% APR period, I'm just going to be making that minimum payment of like $40 a month, or in this case, $110, which would be about the minimum balance. And that most of that $11,000 is going to stay here for a full year almost and be making me some extra money. I'll show you on the spreadsheet with much better handwriting quickly how that worked. All right, now that we're back to the sexiest spreadsheet in the world, I'm going to quickly show you how much I'm going to make on the 0% introductory offer. I'll leave a link in the description to a 0% APR calculator if you're interested. I already spent this much money, $7,690.77 between my federal and state taxes to start the year. On this column here, D is the interest earned. Basically, what it's doing is calculating how much time this spend has to earn 4.5% over here in my Wealthfront account. Since the period is for 12 months, the later you spend on the card, the less interest you're going to earn. So the first month is always going to be the most profitable, slightly less profitable in February because only 11 months for it to age before you pay off the credit card, and so on and so forth. So that's the bulk of my tax bill. I've just estimated I have about $1,000 a month I'm going to be spending on other business expenses over the next 5 months. And you can see, even though it's $1,000 in February and March, it's slightly less in March, slightly less in April, slightly less in May. So what'll happen now is in my bank account, I'm going to be getting a monthly payment in interest on the total balance, and in this case, about $11,600 from my Signify cash card at that 4.5%. So part of that interest payment is just going to be paid to me in the form of interest in my bank account. The thing to know about interest is that it is taxable. I will be getting a 1099 INT from my Wealthfront savings account, my Wealthfront cash account, that will be taxed on my general income. Based on past tax returns, I put my own amount, how much that would be in here. It's about 15% of my income in my effective tax rate after deductions and everything. So I just put this in here to kind of give you a realistic idea of how much it will actually make by the time taxes are over. For me, it's about $75 with taxes deducted. So total profit at the end after Uncle Sam takes his cut, I'll be making an extra $415.30 just for leveraging this 0% APR offer here. It seems like kind of a lot of moving parts there to make it work, but effectively all you do is you make purchases you normally budget on the card that you would normally pay off in full that month, but instead of paying it off that month, you just make the minimum payment. The way to do that, for me, I've already set up auto pay where it'll make the minimum payment every single month for the next 11 or 12 payments. And then I've just marked my calendar with a lot of reminders to pay off the card once that 0% APR period is over. If you don't remember exactly when that would be from when you applied for the card, it will be at the bottom of your statement and you can mark it directly on there. So it takes, actually 5 to 10 minutes to set up to do this for an extra $415. I do this for pretty much all of the business cards I get that do not report to my personal credit report. The reason why I only do it on business cards, like I just mentioned, is because it does not report to my personal credit. So it does not increase my credit utilization. So my score stays in the 750 to 800 range with essentially no penalty. If you did this on a personal card, once your credit score gets above 10% and then above 30%, your score starts dropping a lot. And for me, I like applying for new credit cards. I'm actually going to be possibly refinancing my home if interest rates continue to decline over the next year. So I want to keep my credit score and my profile as clean as possible. And more importantly, I only do this strategy if I have a good emergency fund saved up so that I know I can definitely, with these extra funds I'm putting aside every single month, pay off the card in full. Because the second you start paying this 20% APR plus on your card, you're losing the game substantially. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about here is why it basically always makes sense for me to pay a credit card with my taxes. This is super niche if you don't have a small business or you pay estimated taxes. So feel free to check the timestamps below to do the final recap with the fat stacks. But I did want to cover this for all of my self-employed people and just kind of explain kind of where my strategy is going with it. So we will head back over to the sexiest spreadsheet ever made, also available to you in the description, and talk about why it's always making sense for me to pay my taxes with the credit card. All right, now that we're back on the spreadsheet ever made, I'm going to talk about how it is always making sense for me to pay taxes with a credit card these days. So I just paid my federal taxes to start off the year from the previous year and then some of my payroll taxes, and that came out to $4,605.68. Now, whenever you pay your taxes with a credit card, there's a few providers, at least federally. In this case, I used Pay USA Tax, and the transaction fee is 1.85%. And I'm effectively paying an extra $85.21 for the privilege of using my credit card. But because I'm using the Wells Fargo Signify card, it's 2% back. So immediately I'm actually making a few dollars on this transaction versus paying it with like an ACH transfer from my bank or writing them a check. You can see over here, cashback on tax spend, $92.11. It's about $7 more than this amount here. But there's also another benefit is because I'm using a credit card to pay my business expenses, this fee amount is another expense on my tax return for my business. So that's less money that I will be paying in taxes. It's not $85 less. It's basically another expense. So like I write off my truck, I write off my gas, I write off my painting supplies, and I write off my accountant fees, and then I'll also write off this transaction fee that lowers my taxable income by a little bit. I did it for myself here based on how much on average from past tax returns, how much it takes off. For me, I'm estimating that will basically save me effectively $17.04 in taxes. This is my specific situation. I would highly recommend, if you have a business, consult with your CPA to make sure you have everything set up the correct way so the IRS isn't looking at it weird. I also did it with my state taxes. I had a bit more to pay than usual this quarter because there's a few different things in Hawaii. I had some of my payroll stuff not go until the beginning of this year. Unfortunately, their fee is 2.4% for using a credit card with their one service provider. So immediately that's a bit less than the 2% back I would get from the Signify card. But with the fee being paid on it, deducted from my taxes, plus the money not going in, plus the fact I'm hitting a sign-up bonus, it still made sense for me to pay my state taxes on here, especially with that 0% APR offer. So the total fee I'll be paying between federal and state from this first tax period is $159. I'll be paying effectively $31.85 less in taxes. And then I just calculated down here, this is how much money I'll be getting. This proportion is the 0% APR offer I'll be getting just for my tax payment. So the total fees I'll be paying is $159. The 2% cashback I'm getting from the card plus these money not going to taxes is $185.66. If I add that to the 0% interest here, I'll be getting $479.83 effectively, and that's not including the welcome bonus of $500 on my taxes, or getting 6.24% back. I'm not including the welcome offer here because that would just make this insane. I'll put that in the final fat stack. But with the 0% offer and the transaction fee benefit, it just made a ton of sense, $500 worth of sense, just to make these $7,000 of tax payments with the credit card. All right, now that we talked about pretty much every facet, let's do a quick recap with the fat stack to see exactly how much we're making from this credit card. And yeah, let's get back to the sexiest spreadsheet ever made. If you found this content helpful, please consider subscribing. This card does not have an affiliate link, but there are other cards with amazing offers. As always, if you want to support me, support the channel, and want some of your wildest dreams to come true, click those links in the description. I do try to provide the best offers available. All right. So let's get back to the sexiest spreadsheet ever made. And we will go down to the fat stack. This is how much I will be making on this card total with a recap here. So the sign-up bonus is $500 when you spend $5,000 in the first 3 months. I'll be making $233.82 in cash back on that $11,600 in spend or so. I am accounting for transaction fees here because a lot of it is going to be used paying for taxes. So I am deducting that here. But because some of that is going to effectively lower my tax bill a little bit because I am itemizing this expense on my business, I will be paying about $32 less in taxes. That combined with the 2% I'm getting on it and the 0% offer, it's a no-brainer to use my card if you didn't watch the tax section. And then overall, between my tax payments and every payment just lumped together, the 0% APR interest I'll be getting is $415.30. The gross number is a bit more than this, about $75 more, but since I already calculated the taxes on it, just for realism's sake, this is how much I will get after paying my taxes on that 0% APR interest. And that brings my total return on this card for the spending I'll be doing the first 5 months to $1,022, if we round up a couple cents here. And my effective return on spend, which means every time I swipe the card, effectively, if you add everything together, I'll be getting 8.74% back. But for me, it's great. I can do this, 2 to 3 times a year with a 0% card on my business and effectively make an extra $1,000 or so. It seems more complicated because of everything I had to explain here, but basically all I'm doing is applying for the card, spending it on all my expenses, setting up automatic payments, and then profiting. And then I'll either use this card for the flat 2% on miscellaneous spend if I get tired of applying for cards in the future, or just continue to get new business cards that don't report to my personal credit report. All right. If you want a copy of the Sexiest spreadsheet alive, it will be in the description. Like I said, I'm not an expert in making spreadsheets. I mostly did this for illustrative purposes. But it is helpful to just see kind of how much you're making on a lot of these deals. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think of my strategy with the Wells Fargo Signify card. Let me know if you're working on any other business card offers right now. Remember to like the video if you found the content helpful so that it can spread to the algorithm. And as always, if you want to be reminded of how beautiful you are on each and every upload, hit that subscribe button. A few months ago, I broke down the top business credit cards based on return on spend. They have a lot of 0% introductory offers and other bells and whistles that are super profitable, especially if you have a business or if you have like a side hustle and you combine your expenses as a sole prop, you can make it work that way. Click on this video for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Look out for the top credit cards of January 2024. I'm going to be posting that video soon, and I'll see you guys then.